Hello, welcome to the video. I'm going to be testing the finals open beta on my 7900 XTX. I'm going to be doing it at 4K, so we've got that here, 340 by 260. We do have FSR in this, which I'll test out a little bit later on, but we're going to be doing 4K native first. And then settings-wise, got everything maxed out, so we've got ray tracing here maxed out. Maybe play around with this setting a little bit just to see what kind of frame rate we get. But yeah, let's have a look. So frame rate here looking like we're just above 60.
Spot on, Scotty.
Obviously not amazing frames, but this is Unreal Engine 5, so notoriously it has always performed pretty badly. But I mean, before we've been having like 30 to 40 FPS in Unreal Engine 5, so this overall is, you know, twice as much as that. At least, you know, we're at 60. Could be a lot worse. We are using 10 gigs of VRAM, seems quite a lot. Quite a lot for 4K on Unreal Engine 5, but it obviously has used a lot less VRAM than other engines. So that's obviously good in a way. Normally it's a little bit less than this though, maybe like 8 gig I've seen. Got it maxed out on GPU power pretty much as well. It's pretty much happens to me in every game. CPU usage as well, doesn't look too bad, pretty average for 4K. But probably one of the better performing Unreal Engine 5 games I think I've seen. The fact it is only a beta as well. It's definitely better. We're getting better games coming out with better performance with that. Definitely wasn't too impressed by some of the earlier games we got. I've noticed we are using quite a lot of RAM though. You know, we're using almost 23, 24 gigs of RAM is quite a lot. Quite a lot compared to what we normally have. Didn't know there was a turret in there. Ooh. Yeah, so I think we had about 90 to 100-ish, I think, with the 4090, so maybe 20, 30 FPS more, I think, probably, on average, which is roughly about average between the gap between the two. That's pretty normal. I will now try with just switching ray tracing. Should we switch it off completely, or should we just... Can we switch it off completely static? If we switch it off completely, see how this does. Doesn't really change it much, does it? So you can't switch it off. Static preset uses pre-calculated lighting data. Has the smallest performance cost. Not really noticing it increase our frames by that much, really. And it's obviously built-in ray tracing in Unreal Engine 5 Lumen, so has less of a hit on... It's obviously easier to run overall compared to hardware-based ray tracing. Maybe getting slightly more frames, but it's not massive. I'm expecting a little bit more of an FPS game by switching that low, but I mean, we're hitting them. Maybe we are getting a little bit more depending on where you are. I am now going to check out with FSR, so if we do... I want to just put it on quality first. See, should gain about 20 to 30 FPS. It looks like we'll gain about that. Hitting almost 100. 100 from like 60 to 70 to about 90 to 100, so... Yeah, definitely in the kind of expected range. Has brought our VRAM down by about a gig. Not that it's really an issue on this anyway, because we've got 24 gigs of VRAM, so it doesn't really matter too much. Has obviously increased our CPU usage, though. Are using over 20% of the CPU now. Then, if we take a look and see Ultra Performance preset, see what the most amount of frames we can get. Not that I would recommend playing with settings like this. Obviously, image quality-wise, it's definitely a lot worse, but pushing in the range of 130, 150 FPS, so actually quite a lot, but at the cost of image quality. Okay, so I'm now going to have a look with Fluid Motion Frames. So I've got the AMD overlay here because obviously it doesn't get picked up with MSI Afterburner. I am currently at 4K just native, so Fluid Motion Frames are off. We've got everything maxed out epic. Just to demonstrate you again, we're getting 70-ish FPS, between 60 and 70 like we were getting before when we tested it with the MSI Afterburner overlay. So 66, yeah. So we're still in that range of kind of 60 to kind of 70, 75, depending on where you are. Right, so I'm currently in the AMD overlay. I'm going to switch on Fluid Motion Frames, so I'll enable that here. We should then see our frame rate increase. I'm going to play around with it for a little bit, see what it's like. It has increased our frames. I mean, our frames are all over the place. Right now, they're all over the place. We were getting 127, back down to 70, back up to 140. That frame time looks pretty nasty as well. Game feels very weird as well. I can feel the latency. Got 30 milliseconds of latency. It's not that bad compared to what we've seen. You know, we saw 50 to 60 in Cyberpunk. I definitely do think I can feel it though. It's going to be a lot harder, I think, to run any kind of frame generation in fast-paced shooter games. We are going to get it in COD, I think, the new Call of Duty frame generation, so that'll be interesting to see what that feels like. Haven't really had it in many shooter games. But this Fluid Motion Frames in beta seems to have big problems with motion. If there's high motion, and I think that's what we're seeing here, the frame rate is so... The frame rate's fluctuating so much. Because of the movement, I think. I think that's where it's having problems. So as soon as I start moving, it drops down a lot. So if I stay still, like this here, you see it creep up to 120. So we're at 119, 120. As soon as I then start moving, look, back down to 60. You know, back down to 60, back up to 120. You know, it's all over the place. You know, anywhere from 70 to 120, 130. So it's definitely got problems there. Hopefully, whatever those issues are, get sorted out for the full release. I'm hoping. Which we should hopefully get next year. Obviously, it's still, like I say, still in beta at the moment. So you can expect there to be some problems. But yeah, for now, I think it probably would avoid using this. Definitely can feel latency, which you don't really want in shooters. Frame time, of course, is just all over the place. You know, you want something like this to be as smooth as possible. So cool. It's cool to test it out and see, but I wouldn't recommend it as of right now. It'd be better off just switching your settings down or using just FSR or something like that. That guy's so low. I don't know why that guy was pushing me with that health. He had the lowest health. Ooh. Let's go, team. Right, so I'm now going to be having a look at 1440p. So we'll do 1440p native. We've got everything maxed out again still. So ray tracing's at epic, and then all the settings are epic here. So we'll check that out. Seems like we're getting about 120 to 130, maybe dropping slight under in some areas. VRAM's down almost by half. I mean, we're at about 6 gig here. We're about 10.5 before, so not quite half, but almost. Even in places like this, up to 150 FPS there, but we're around about 130 here. It's pretty decent. You could push, you know, 144 pretty much. Maybe turn 1 or 2 settings down. Bit of a stutter then. I know we did gain about 5 or 6 FPS from switching ray tracing completely off, so I'd put you even closer to 144.
The high notes are back on the scene.
So fairly good performance, even for my CPU. I mean, CPU usage is up to in the 20s, 20%, 23%. Similar to when we had FSR on at 4K. Could switch ray tracing off for a sec and see how many more frames we can get. Seems like maybe see a little bit more of an improved frame rate with that off at 1440p. Seem to hover around the 140, 150 a little bit more. Still fluctuates a lot though. that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Make sure to drop a like on the video, leave me a comment, let me know what you think, and I'll catch you next time.